Good morning, everybody. I'm not too sure we've got. Welcome to the Dynamics Business Central go-to-market updates. We've got a number of people on board. We're still only about halfway there of what we're looking at. So we'll wait. We won't kick off just yet. So if everyone wants to sit tight, we'll wait another couple of minutes just to let people straight through, because only just gone over 11. We are going to be pushed for time. I know there's going to be a lot to get through. But we will wait just a couple of minutes just to see if a few more people want to join in and kick on. So we'll just sit quietly, do some emails, and we'll start off in a couple of minutes. I see more people are joining in. We'll give it another couple of minutes. We'll give it 2 minutes, and then we'll start with what we've got. I hope that's okay with everybody. While we wait for the last minute just before we kick over, we will try and get through this in the hour we've got allocated. We will hold a Q&A session at the end. If you do have questions during the presentation, please feel free to throw something into the chat box. Otherwise, we'll open up the floor at the end, and we'll very shortly kick off. In fact, in terms of time, we'll just kick off now and get ourselves going. Look, welcome everybody. This is it's a joint presentation between Microsoft and Ingram Micro on new release features around Business Central. There's a lot that's come through and a lot that's come out. So we've thrown up a couple of mug shots for this morning. So this morning you'll be getting a run through with Tim Shaw from Microsoft, myself, who is the regional BDM for Ingram Micro across the Dynamics 365 product suite, and Sonny Prince, who's our in-house regional solution architect across the Dynamics suite. So the three of us will give you a bit of information through. Most of this will be done by Tim, the expert of the topic, rather than us. If you can jump to the next one, Tim. As I said, look, this presentation is being done via Ingram Micro and Microsoft. And a couple of things, I'm not going to dwell too much because most of you know about Ingram Micro and who we are, but a lot of you probably don't realize that we're the largest global indirect CSP partner that Microsoft has. And the idea between Ingram and what we're here to do is help all our partners go to market. So we're here to help you grow and expand your clients. And obviously we do that via helping you succeed by sell more through the ecosystem we've got amazing go-to-market services to help support you. And obviously with our outsourcing operations, we're here to help you from the back office to the marketing to the sales. And then you can leverage people like Sonny and myself into further selling and to further enabling your capabilities. Thanks, Tim. So a couple of numbers. I'm not sure if everyone's aware that actually Ingram Micro now, we're into 45 countries with 46 billion in revenue. There's 25 different marketplaces that we've got going, 47,000, and this is just the Ingram Micro Cloud aspect. So we do have a lot to leverage, and this is where partnering with Ingram becomes added value to as a partner, because we can leverage our global assets, leverage our global partners, and we've already got marketing templates, email templates, fact sheets. We've got how to grow your practice videos that we're able to share with our partners that give you that value add with going with Ingram. There'll be a bit more at the end. I don't want to hog up all the time, but I wanted to give you a bit of background about Ingram. Most people on the line will probably know who Ingram are. I wanted to give you a bit of a background on Ingram themselves, but look, I'll leave it at that, and at the end I'll come back and give you a run through on some resources links that we've got for you, so you can stay updated on releases, new information, and product information. But also run you through the current specials that are on the market now, to make sure you're aware of what you're capable of selling, what your end users are capable of getting. So if I just jump to the next one, I'll do a quite quick handover to Tim. If Tim, you jump over, I think you should be all right for you to go if you're there.
Yes, I'm here. You can hear me?
Yep, no problem.
Awesome. Okay, mate. Thanks, John, for the introduction, and thanks everyone for coming along to today's presentation, all the way from my house in Brisbane. So let's get going. So we've got a lot of slides to get through, so I can't really chat a lot as we go, but let's continue on. So for starters, and just to this is a little bit late now, but just to give you an idea, there was no changes to the initial deployment schedule. So as of 1st of April, Business Central has been in market for 2 years in countries like USA and UK, and in July it'll be 2 years for Australia. We deployed on time for 1st of July US time, and then we also gave additional time to our existing customers to update. The reality is, I think we sent an email out around the 8th, a notification around the 8th to all of our customers that the upgrades would go ahead around the 22nd of the month. Then we sent an email out and paused it for about 24 hours, and then we went ahead and updated. So a lot of customers existing customers have already been moved forward. There is a link on the bottom of this slide that points to the details about that. But because of COVID, we did actually push the standard update time out to 60 days if you wanted to. But we've also, in the past, if there is a customer that needs extra time for some reason, you can normally raise a support case and tell them why, and they usually allow you to do that if that is a requirement of your business. The thing about Business Central, and to keep in mind, is one of the things that the reason we're doing the technology changes and the development environment changes is to make a system that is reliable and easily upgraded. So we should be getting to a point where we do major upgrades like we've just done, and it should really not be impacting existing customers as we do them. And it's still got a little bit of learning to do on that path, but all our minor upgrades these days go through with most of the time without customers even aware that they've gone through. But we do now have sites where we publish all the data of what's been upgraded. So if you need that, I can send that through to John as we go. So this release had 4 major themes that I'm going to talk about today. It actually had other themes as well, but these are the 4 that I'll talk about in this presentation. So productivity via the modern client. So how can people use the modern client quickly and efficiently? Talked about some application enhancements that we have delivered, and talk about some service and development fundamentals, and I'll give you some insight into what's coming towards October this year, as well as the updated cloud migration tool. So if I do have a customer that's on-prem with Dynamics GP or Dynamics Nav, we are working and we are delivering on a quicker way to get them into the cloud. So let's talk about productivity. And what I'll do is I'll jump into the next slide and I'll explain this a little bit to everybody that's on the phone. So when you look at Business Central, it's sold across the SMB market, sometimes up and above there, but mainly its sweet spot is probably mid-market to upper mid-market, but it's also being sold into the low mid-market these days. So as a result, we're doing a lot of work for the system to make it easier for people to see how to set it up and how to configure the system. So when you talk about the implementation types, I'd categorize them into 3. That you could probably do more than that, but let's just keep it simple for a second. I classify it into, I'm doing a standard implementation of Business Central, and I'm not going to do any what we call extensions, or traditionally called customizations. I'm not going to customize the system. I'm going to use the system as it is, and I'm going to change all my business processes to suit that. And that's the kind of normal way that happens in the lower mid-market. They normally will take it as it is, And if they need to do anything extra, they might install an app or something like that. Then there's the mid-size kind of implementations where they do some extensions. They adopt a majority of the business processes, but they do some extensions. And then there's the complex ones where they actually, while they use a lot of standard processes, they actually create a whole lot of new processes, or they implement a complex sort of app into the process as well. So across those 3 implementations, you end up with 3 different implementations, costs, but also 3 different amounts of efforts by partners. And that's why you'll see this. So this is probably designed more for the lower mid-market to the mid-market, but also useful by the upper mid-market sort of customers. But what we've done is we've moved everything to under the cog. And then what we've started to do is we've started to group things. So here are the tasks that you have to do to set up your company. Here are the tasks you need to do for your first invoice. Here's the tasks to do financial health. Here's some get ready for business tasks, etc. So in this assisted setup, these are setups where it's like what I call a wizard that walks you through the process, but we also have help files that you can click on to read, and we have some videos in a number of areas where you can go online and watch a video on how it actually works. So that makes it easier. As I said, that some customers will use this, other customers will work with their implementation partner to set this up. And then in this area as well, we have an advanced settings area, and that's where the extensions are. So extensions are when people have customized a solution. Extensions can be an app from the app source, or an extension could be a specific customization for the tenant, which we call PTEs, per tenant extensions. It could be where you set up your service connections. So this is where you set up to connect to the exchange rate service and bring in those exchange rates automatically, as well as some other services we have in there. There's a manual setup. So everything you have to set up in the system or can set up in the system is in one area, which is in the manual setup area. And then you've got workflows, which are more the advanced workflows where you can set up. So these are workflows for things like approving an item, or approving a credit limit change, or approving a purchase order, that you can set up further in those workflows. So if I go through the modern client improvements, so I'll talk through this first, and then I'll go through some pages and show you some of it. The first thing we've done is disable export of data to Excel. That is a system setup where you can give permission to people to export to Excel, or you can not give them the permission to do it. Now, the idea behind this is the feedback from customers through our ideas site has been that, well, I love the fact I can export to Excel, but I don't want my sales staff to be able to export the customer list out to Excel. So that's kind of where this has been brought in. So we've enabled it so that you can stop people from using export to Excel, or they can use export to Excel. It's on and off. Expand and collapse document lines. So when you're looking at, you'll see a picture of this, but when you're looking at a document such as a sales invoice, you have lines, which are the items which you're invoicing them for. So now you can collapse that. That is so you can see more things on your screen, but it's also enabling it for other things, for these things called list plus pages. And I'll show you what a list plus page is, but it's multiple lists that reference each other on one screen. So I might have a list at the beginning, which might be just to give you an example, might be my bill of material items. Also, actually might be production bombs, and then the next list might be the components, the next list might be the routes, but they're all on the same page. So depending on what I've chosen at the top is what I'll see at the bottom 2 rows, but I'll show you a picture on that. The next one's pretty exciting, non-interactive printing in the cloud. What that means is that I don't have to choose a printer, and I don't have to open up the PDF and press print. If I set up in printer selections for a specific document, so an invoice to go to a specific printer for a specific user, then what will happen is that when I go to post and print that invoice, it'll go directly out to that printer. Now, we've enabled email printing, which printers such as Xerox and HP and Brother, etc., a number of them, even my little Epson that's sitting beside me on this chair, does email service printer, which basically means that I can set that printer up and set the email for that printer up in Business Central, and it will email it to that printer and print out the document. We've also created the framework for our partners to enhance the solutions and support other printing solutions. And I think those apps are now showing up on App Store for things like PrintNode and other cloud printing services. There's a number of them out there. But it just basically means now I don't have to choose what printer I print to, and I don't have to go into that one extra step of waiting. It just goes out. We've created some ability to enter data more easily, so I'll show you that one. The next one, cancel long running operations, is about if I start a thing like a large report and it's going for a long time, I have the option of cancelling it, and then I can run the same report and schedule in the background to be delivered. Also, if I'm running a large posting routine and for some reason I've decided I need to cancel it, I'll be able to cancel that as well. That's giving more control back to the customers and also to the partners to enable them to stop operations if they need to. We've also done some device orientation enhancements, and that basically means whether I'm looking in horizontal or vertical, I can, if I'm holding the device horizontal or vertical, I can basically see more details. So I'll talk through those. I'll show you the screen on that in a second. Improved page load time. So we've done optimization. This refers back to some functionality or some technical capabilities we released back in October, where we can run background tasks. So I can open a page and other things that need to happen can be happening as a background task. And if in the end I don't need to see them, I can close the page and move on. And there could be something I may be able to extend the solution. I might be calculating some quantity and it's taking a while to calculate. So I open the page, I can see all the data, and once that particular field is calculated, it will show up. We've also done some optimization on the speed of page loads. So it's all about getting a fast, responsive solution to the customers and a consistent experience. So we don't really want that super speed and then the highs and the lows. We really want a consistent experience, and we don't want people coming home at in normal times and working from home at 3 o'clock when all the kids show up and start playing Fortnite. Their performance drops. So we kind of want more of a consistent approach now. Obviously, we can't control bandwidth, so that's not the scenario. But the idea is to if you're in a business and you've got a proper internet connection, then it will continue to run that consistency. Mind you, the application is very light. I've been running it at home for weeks now and haven't had a problem with it at all. It performs very well. Import profiles and UI customization. So the system allows you to do a number of customizations to a profile in the in the UI. So actually in the screens without having to go into development. What this is allowing you to do is you can do those. You can also do the development ones, and then you can export them maybe out of a sandbox and import them into production, or maybe into another totally separate system. So I'll show you a little bit more of that. The navigate trees I'll show you. It's better to show you that than talk through that one. Optimized page space. I'll show you that, but that is one of my happy. One of the even though it's a small feature, it's made me very happy because it actually allows you to see more on the screen. All the grey space, which is on both sides of the screen, you can consume more of that and see 15% more of the screen. So I'll show you that in a second. And then the peak functionality, show and go to related records. I'll show you a picture on that in a second. Unhide parts on a page. That's when you're working and you're changing the page. You'll actually see the parts that you've already hidden, so you can re-expose them. Beforehand, you couldn't see them. You had to know you couldn't actually re-add them. Find function on the Role Explorer. That's a new way to find things. So I'll walk you through that. And then easily use filters and views more easily. So I'll show you a little bit about that as well. I don't know whether we've said this or not, but we will be sharing this PowerPoint, at least in PDF point after this, so you'll be able to go through this in your own time. This is the first thing, so you can use shortcuts with this, but the idea here is that what you can see is a sales invoice and the lines have already been collapsed. And as it says on the bottom, you can also use this in any list parts that you want to, so you can collapse the details and only see the header details on the screen. This is a new one which I didn't actually mention, which is bookmark a link to a report. So when I'm running a report, there's a little bookmark, and I can click that bookmark, and that report can be put onto my role center. So when I need that report next time, it'll be in the navigation area on the role center that I use. So that's a good quick way to get to reports. That actually came out in 15.4, which was the last release before the latest release, which is version 16. So improved data entry. So F2 allows you to select the whole field or go to the end of the field. So you can, if you need to replace something, you only got one field chosen, you can press F2. The other thing is we set up the tab to go over the row menu. So that's the little three dots in the middle. It used to basically jump into those little three row dots for no reason. And when you're entering data, you don't normally need to go up to those. So now you can set that. And if you don't know, you can already personalize and configure the system to go to whatever field you want after that field. So you can skip fields. So in this case, I could just enter the item number and go straight to the quantity and then to the next field if I wanted to. So you can do that in personalization as well and configuration. Data exploration. So this is the ability to use your arrow keys to go up and down the screens and up and down the fields within the table that you have, or the rows that you've got open. This used to work, I believe, in read areas, but not in editable areas. But now I can use the arrows to go up and down and home to go home to the first cell, etc. In editable screens. So that's going to help people that use keyboards all the time. And then the page loads faster. So what this is talking about, obviously in most cases the page is going to open up pretty quickly, but the UI appears immediately while data is fetched. So you get straight in, you know that the system's responded, and now it's just getting the data out. Because the problem is if it doesn't open the page straight away, people click the button again thinking it's still opening up the page. This feature hasn't been released, but it's coming in 16.1. The major releases always end in a 0. Well, pretty well always end in a 0. So 16 is our April release. 16.1 is a update, or a minor update, which we normally do one of those a month. Every now and then it's every couple of months, but between now and October there'll be a number of minor releases. So you can see actually between October last year and April this year, we actually released 4, because 16.4 means we released 4. And this is a tree view. So this was something that was in the old client of Business Central before it became Business Central, so Dynamics NAV. And it allows you to do that collapse and expand that you can do in things like Excel. But it's basically allows you to toggle expand or collapse, and also just expand all. So this is, you'll see this implemented in the chart of accounts overview. It may be in other parts of the system. I haven't seen it yet in other areas, but it is a technical capability that partners can use to expand in other areas. Maybe I want a list of products by category and then drill down in each category and see the products, that sort of thing. So it is available technically for you to use in other areas in the system now. So that's pretty cool. Better utilization of space, one of my favorites. So you can see on the left-hand side what version 15 would look like, and you can see on the right-hand side what version 16 can look like. So you can still have the more collapsed view, I suppose, but you can also expand it. And once you've expanded a screen out, it remembers that for next time. And as a result, you'll see more on the screen. So I love this. I think it's great, but you've still got the option of having the non-expanded version as well. And this is what we call peek and jump. The concept with peek and jump is that I can hover over, in this case, a customer number on sales orders. And as a result, I can just go down and open that customer directly from there. So I don't have to go up and go to advanced view or anything like that and then open it up. I can get to it directly from there. So you can open customer or item cards from sales or order in view mode much easily, which is good. This is unhide parts on the page, just to show you what it looks like. So this part has been hidden before. Now I can show it again, but when you open up Designer, you'll be able to see that part has actually been hidden. So that will help you in personalizing, customizing, and using the in-app Designer. Improved filter expressions. So this is p3 ... p4 means period 3 to period 4. But what it allows you to do is now, if you set the focus away from those fields, it'll tell you what those actual values are without you having to run the report. So that's a good insight into what's actually going to happen when I run the report. So there's a number of filters like workday and W for workday, T for today, p3.p4. There's a number of those shortcuts you can use, and then this is basically giving you what the resulting value is going to be. Sharing links to records. So this one you may not know, but the deep links. So if I'm on an actual customer card and I look at the URL didn't take me to that actual record. It took me up to above then. But now you can get deep links all the way down to where you are, and then you can share that link with a colleague or keep it or save it on your desktop. And then when you open it up again, it will open you up where you were. So it's basically going all the way down to the record, which is great for productivity. As with the UI customization, we have introduced the capability of troubleshooting. So you can imagine what we said before is you can copy profiles and use those profiles, import those into production. Part of that, when you go to import them, you may have issues. So you can troubleshoot the customization using this tool here when it runs a series of diagnostic tests. So you could, where this will happen is I've got a sandbox, I'm working in a sandbox, I've done a customization in the sandbox, but I'm also doing some UI customization. I've taken that UI customization out and pushed it into production, but the actual other customization I'm doing is not in production yet. And as a result, this particular field is getting a warning because it's actually not in the other, it's not in the system. So that's kind of, it helps you troubleshoot it so you know what the issue is, so you know whether you need to delete an offending UI customization or export the profile, correct the page customizations in AL and re-import. So this will help when you're doing a lot of work with UI. There's another feature coming in, which will basically allow you to try a feature on a sandbox and then enable in production. So the concept here is you have features. So when we bring in something new, so we might bring you in a new version, it may have some features. We'll give you, in some cases, we'll give you an option to actually go and enable the feature if you want to try it in production, or you could actually leave that feature turned off and try it in sandbox first, and when you're happy, go and turn it on for everybody in production. So that kind of gives us the ability to release updates, and then you as a partner or customer, the ability to decide when you get that particular update, when they're in a set of features. It will only kind of last in between this version and the next version. So for instance, if there's a feature release now, then it may not be that you can, when the next version comes out, it will be enabled either, but you can enable it earlier if you want to. Okay, control click to navigate when customizing UI. So this enables you to, this has already been in the system since 15.2, but it enables you when you're personalizing the screens to actually go down into the lower records and change those records as well. So all in the same area, you can do personalization on the vendor form, as well as the main role center of customer and so on. So you can just drill down. And this is the enhanced mobile accessibility. So you can use both your thumbs to move through the role center. Navigation and data form two independent scrollable parts. The data queues, there's no restrictions on those. There used to be. And you have easy access to fact boxes independent of device orientation. So you can get to the fact boxes, which are basically, you can see on the screen, sell to customer sales history, just by clicking up on a little arrow and you're straight in there. Cancel long-running reports or operations. I spoke about that before, but you'll give the option to cancel and it'll just confirm that's what you want to do. And when you do that, it'll cancel it. And then you can either run that in the background as a scheduled report versus running it in the foreground if you need to get to that report straight away. And this is the importing of the profiles and UI customization. So you can see the concept is it's telling you what's there, and you can decide, it'll tell you what the action is, whether to replace or add, and you can decide which ones get imported, and then it will import them into your environment that you're importing them into. So I think that's pretty cool. And non-interactive printing. So you can see here, I've set up a number of printers. They're cloud printers, and there's an email printer setting, a printer email address, etc. is all there. Luckily, they took it out. Otherwise, I'd be emailing that printer to see what happens. But that's the idea there, is you can do that, and you can have a printer ID descriptions and set them up, and then you can go and in your printer selections you can set up per user based off report or all users for a specific report to go to specific printers that you've already set up in the system. That's pretty cool. As I said, there's a extensibility model or a framework for you guys, so that you can actually, so down here it talks about the extensibility model, so you can extend the solution to suit some cloud printing technologies like PrintNode. But if you have a look at AppSource, I think you'll find some others have already shown up there, but there's an opportunity if you do need to extend the solution to support specific cloud printing technology that's not already supported. And that's Find in Role Center is a new functionality as well. So normally when we do Find, we do search and filtering. So we search for records and filter. This one is more of a find as you type, and we've put it in the Role Explorer. So the Role Explorer is I think it's 3 dashes, the hamburger sort of icon on the Role Center to the right of the menus. That will take you to your Role Explorer, and it allows you to see what your current role has and pop out and see all roles. So that's what the Explore All over here is for. So let's explore all just there. So, oops, go back a bit. So this will be interesting to see how this goes, but it is a new way to find information. So basically highlights things and then lets you go straight to them rather than filtering out the list. Okay, so that was all about the client. Now let's get into application. So you can extend list plus pages. I'll show you what those are in a second. It's probably the easiest way. Multiple languages. So there's a slight improvement we need to make on that, but basically you can have, if you want in Australia and on the Australian tenant, you can install a package from AppSource for French, for instance, French, and then basically the interface will turn into French. Now, during the update recently, for those that have been updated already, it tended, for some tenants, it actually gave them all those language packs already, which basically means they can change languages already. We will be pushing those back out because they're not meant to be installed unless the customer wants them installed. But just be aware that you can actually run an Australian tenant in French language if you want it. It doesn't give you the French localizations, it just gives you the language. So maybe one day in the future we might have the localization as well, but at the moment it's more about the language. Auto insert recurring sales and purchase lines. So that's a new functionality to put in recurring sales and purchase lines automatically into an invoice or a purchase order. Bank reconciliation improvements. It's not the integration to banks that a number of people are asking for. It's basically making the forms easier to use than what they have been in the past. And part of that has been the work we've done on list plus pages optimization, as well as building the screen out bigger. Enhanced vendor and customer and vendor document layouts. I'll talk through that, but this basically on a customer today, you can say for sales invoice, use this particular report or this particular layout, and on normal or on everybody else, you can default them to the normal document layout. This gives you better visibility of what layouts the customer's going to get, as well as adds a couple of more that you can now assign to a customer or vendor. So I'll go through that in a second. Direct debit. So we have direct debit collections in the system, but you can also now manage that in service management. And that's in things like service contracts, orders, and invoices. You can actually see what the status of direct debit is. So if you're doing a service call on someone, you know they've paid you. New one, which I think is good, is the notify requester of changes on approval requests. So something I've been waiting for a while, but basically as a requester, if something happens in your approval path, you'll get notified of that. Print to attachment. This is the first implementation of this, but it allows you to print out to PDF and get automatically attached to the record you're on. So for instance, on a sales quote, I can go print to attachment. It'll print the sales quote into PDF and attach that PDF to the document that I'm on at that time, so I can review it later. So I think that'll get more used in the future, but it's a good way to store actual PDF copies of what was sent out versus letting the system regenerate it. receive more items than ordered, so you can set up tolerances, and you can set up a workflow as well if you need to for approval. But this is the age-old thing in warehousing where I ordered 100 and the vendor sends me 102. And in a good state, I ring the vendor and they tell me to keep the 2. And maybe in other cases, I just keep the 2 anyway. But the idea there is the system will allow you to set tolerances, so how much more are you allowed to receive, and also workflow for approval if that's required. You don't have to have the approval workflow, but you can if you need to. So that's good. So you can receive more than you actually ordered. Register capacity in units of seconds versus minutes. So currently the system's all based on minutes, but if your customer wants to get down to the actual seconds, then they'll be able to do that now as standard. They can always go further down through development, but the fact that this is supported out of the box means that you'll be able to just use it that way if you want to. Revert quantity or invoice when cancelling your order. So if you cancel an order and you've already received some stuff, then you want to revert the quantity invoice to be back what it should be at the end. That's more a reconciliation thing than anything else. And the new one, which is good, so use resources in purchase documents. So you can now purchase a resource. You may be using that resource on a job or whatever, but basically it could be a resource, that a piece of equipment that you're hiring, or it could actually be a resource that you're subcontracting and you may be doing purchase orders and paying them through the vendor system. If so, then you'll be able to use them on purchase documents now, which I think is great. Just to explain the enhanced customer and vendor document layout a little bit more, what you're seeing on the screen happens to be a customer card, and I've gone up to look at the document layouts for that customer. What the system does is brings any that they've had that are specifically set up for them, as well as all the standard setup into the same screen when you're looking at it this way. So you can see every document that they're going to get and what version of that document they're going to get, as well as obviously the ones that you've customized, as well as the standard in one area, which is great. So the way this works, so just in case you're not familiar with it, is in this area, I can say, in this case, I've said the quote goes out to an email called Adam Corporation at contorso.com.au or whatever that is, and to somebody else, there's a semicolon there that goes on. But I haven't changed the report ID, but I could have actually given them a different report layout as well. So, if you ever have that customer that wants an invoice to look a specific way, then you create this new version of the invoice and you assign that version of the invoice to the customer here. So that works in both vendors and both customers, which is what we're in, and vendors. And basically, we've also added the ability for reminders and posted shipments, so they can have different layouts for that if they want to, or a posted shipment document could go to a specific email versus an invoice that might go somewhere else. And then there's document layouts for vendors. Also now include purchase orders and posted return shipments. So that's good because they always should have had purchase orders. But that gives you an idea that you can set different reports for different customers and emails that they go out to, as well as your email bodies could be different as well. Or they could just use default. This is just a quick view, the direct debit collections in service management. Here it's showing that the direct debit status and what dates it's valid to, even though I'm in a service order at the moment. So it's just a visibility thing. This is you can see here, attaches PDF. That actually goes to the attachments. It creates a PDF file and attaches it as an attachment to that record. So you can get to that PDF further. Receive more items than ordered. So here there's a couple of things. There's an over receipt tolerance percentage created on over receipt codes pages, and then that's assigned to items, as well as, I think I've seen on the item card, it may be on the vendor card as well. And then there's an approve over receipt workflow response is available as workflow if you want to. So two things here. One is I can set a tolerance to say I can whatever percentage it is over the quantity I ordered. So that kind of is the first check. The second one is I could have an approval. So if someone is doing it over receipt, I could have an approval for them to do that or not, and just basically let it go through. It's up to how the customer wants to run it. Okay, and this is showing you using resource. So I'm in a purchase document, happen to be in a purchase invoice, and there's a resource on there. So now I can use the resource, put the price that I'm paying for that resource, and that can go against the job or go against the particular resource. So you can keep track of costs based off resources and jobs, which is great. Okay, so that's all the functional side and the modern client side. So the next bit is in service and development fundamentals. So this is fairly brief because was meant to be more of a non-technical side, but I'll go through that for very quickly. So when I go back to what I said at the beginning, so if I was to categorize and do a simple categorization, we have three types of customers in a simple view are using Business Central. We have ones which just use Business Central as it is, and they go and do what they do. Then we have the medium ones that do some extensions, and we have the more complex customers that do a lot of changes and development and so on, maybe APIs, etc. And Business Central being a software as a service, the initial concept was that we would basically, Microsoft would run it, but now we've got partners and customers that want to have more control over the service. So what we're starting to do is introduce some of that capability to be used by the partner / customer. So if they are extending the solution, they can work with their solution and optimize it and see what's going on. The Microsoft solution should just work. So if there's an issue with the Microsoft solution, then that should go back to Microsoft. But it does give you a little bit more control over what's going on with the service you're using. So the first one's current database locks. So if something's going on the system and you've developed something, you'll be able to see if that's causing locks. Table sizes, so you'll be able to see table sizes in the system, how much data is in each area. You can view and cancel sessions. So this is a relatively new one. So we have had occasional hiccup where someone's developed something and it hasn't been developed properly and it's caused some performance issues. Or we've now actually put a lot of throttling in to stop that from happening, so it doesn't affect people, other people outside of that tenant. But we're also now giving the capability to you to go and view and cancel that session. So if it's causing a problem, you can do that. Now, because we have telemetry, we will know that when that's happening a lot, and we'll be able to, if it's something to do with something to do with our side of things, then we'll be able to do something with that. Mono web service request and report performance. So if you're doing a lot of extensibility, which we do have a number of partners and customers doing that through web service requests, then you can see how that development that you've created is going. New one, read-only scale-out. So what this basically does, when you're using Business Central, we use Azure SQL and we use Azure SQL reliability setup. And part of that is a replication database. So now what you can do is when you write a report, you can tell the report whether you want to read off the current database or the replication. The replication is normally seconds behind, not hours. So in a lot of the cases, I'm running a report for sales yesterday, then there's no need to run it on the main database. I can run it on the read-only scale-out. And what this is allowing people to do is create those reports, run those reports, and not basically increase the performance, not affect the performance of the users, but enables you to use a read-only version of the database to get the data still. Now, the other side of this is there's a standard setting that a developer can do, and there's also a screen inside Business Central that allows you to go in and override that. So if a developer's developed a report and they've set it as to go to the read-only scale-out, then you can go and change it to actually say, no, don't use the read-only scale-out, use the concurrent database, and vice versa. So you can go and say, well, actually, I don't need that report to run on the main database. I'm going to put it over there. As I said, this is something which is more in the complex sort of customer. You wouldn't expect the standard out of the box. I don't want to use the word out of the box, but the standard sort of customer to use this system, but it's there if they want to. And the last one is resource limits for reports and web service calls. We've imposed those, and for those that are exceeding those, we continue to work with them when we need to. On the on-prem version, you can change them. Obviously, on the cloud version, you can't change them. But if you are a partner or a customer doing a lot of work with web service calls and running into that, then reaching out to myself or reaching out to through support would be worthwhile to have a discussion on that. We are looking for ways in the future of giving a bit more control over that for certain needs. And we are also looking at a queuing system so that instead of saying no, you can basically queue it and it will respond in due course. So that's server side. So then we have developer fundamentals. So we have new AL interfaces capability. We have application versioning for aligning with the base application. So if you don't know this, some of you would never need to know this, but the base application is one big extension. So I've got a base application with a specific version on it. I've got a application versioning, and I need to align the two. The third one is camera location of AL and APIs available in the browser. So now you can, in the browser, you'll see there's a camera icon that used to be only in the mobile client, and that allows you to take pictures of documents and then attach them to things within Business Central. That also now does the location. So you can basically, on a tablet, for instance, you can determine, you can take a picture and bring in the picture, but you can also use camera location to work out where you are. Now, this is all programming side, developer side, but you may, for instance, have a customer that goes out and you might make a specific site list or customer list of some sort that it looks at the coordinates based off the camera location, and the list that comes up of customers in that location filtered based off the area you're in. That would be development to make that happen, but the reality is it's technically supported. It's just somebody would need to jump ahead and create that capability. You can now look up events and insert in code. You can have multiple variable declarations of the same type in the same line. And just on that, we are enforcing the way things are written and documented in the system, and that is all about reliability. If we know how the code is formatted, and if we know how everything's been documented, etc., then it makes it much easier for us to provide a reliable upgrade service. And in the recent version, so we've moved ahead a little bit, but now we actually went out and tested everybody's PTEs before, as from a will they deploy on the current version or the new version perspective. And PTEs are per tenant extensions. We used to do it for apps only, but now we do it for PTEs as well. And then those that were going to have problems, we actually notified them. And the notification only works. This is important. We have stressed this a few times. Notifications only work if you've gone into the admin center and set up your notification emails against the tenant. So if you've got any customers, then you should be making sure that your email or their email is set up in the notification area in the admin tenant for the client. That way they'll get notified. But we do actually go and test PTEs now and notify people when we can. There's also obsolete tag property now, so you can tag something as obsolete. And the last one, refactor a field from a table to a table extension. This is used when migration. So if I'm version 14, which is the last release of Business Central, with that supports both the old development language as well as the new development language, or version 15, and I'm on-prem and I want to move that from on-prem to the cloud. As part of it, I have the ability to programmatically refactor a field from the table, because in the old days it would be part of the table, to a table extension. And even in the version 15, if I'm on-prem, I can add fields to tables, which I can't do in the SaaS. They're always extensions, they're not direct on the table. Even if I've done that in version 15, I can use the same example that's in GitHub and modify a little bit, but then that would enable me to move it. So basically, if I'm going to go to the cloud, everything has to be an extension. As part of the path, I need to get any data that's been added to fields on tables out to extensions, and this is the way to do it, to make that process much easier. So this is just showing you the camera location side of things for API for browsers. This is talking about the multiple parts and list parts. So I said earlier I'd talk about that. So in the very background, there's a list with 2 additional list paths. So you've got 3 lists on the same page, but there's actually a list with 2 parts below that refer to the first one. So whatever line I've got selected on the first line, the 2 bottom list parts are referring to that line from records from other tables. And then the next one is document page with 2 list parts, and then there's a list pass record side-by-side list pass, which we normally use in bank rec. So we basically worked on these, we've sequenced them, we've grouped them, and we've basically come out and optimized over 40 combinations, are now optimized for performance, and we'll be doing similar optimizations for worksheets and card parts in the future, which is awesome. And then to the one which is normally on everybody's question, how do we support the common data service for integration? So with the Power Platform, they have the common data service and they have a common data model. So to explain this a little bit, if I've got line of business applications and a line of business applications, Business Central is one of them, but there may be something else that you've created in Access. It might even be in Excel. It might be in some other proprietary database or whatever in your system. The common data service is a great place to move that data so you can secure it and have that performance and get access to it as you need to. The common data service also is part of the Power Platform, which means I can then build Power Apps on top of that data. I can build Power BI reports on top of that data, etc. The other part of that is how does Business Central play into that? So with this release, we've released our updated common data service with integration, which we'll continue to work on to make it so that I can integrate with the common data service, Business Central, and I can basically do that without having to use the sales application, or I can use the sales application still, but there's now a base integration. And that means if there's specific data in Business Central that I want to share with entities that I've created in Common Data Service, then I have the capability to do that through development. Likewise, if there's an entity I've created in the Common Data Service that I want to bring that data back into Business Central, I can do the same thing. So we've done work on the assisted setup, and the assisted setup is an automatic way to set up, but it also allows you to choose your CDS, discover the CDS entities you've got, and then choose the entity you want to use. We have a conversation of ownership models, person and team. So this is how do I decide that this particular data gets synchronized with this particular Business Central company. We synchronize data at this stage, create customizations to common data service integration. So this is the new one where if we already have integration, you can customize that now. We're allowing developers access to the AL table proxy generator. So that is required if you create new tables or new entities, so that you can actually connect the two between the common data service and Business Central and have a link so you know what the data that's been shared and hasn't been shared. We can now handle missing option values. So if there's an option on one side that's not on the others, there's a way of handling those now. And we can also schedule synchronization as well. So we can do that as well. So picture paints 1,000 words, I suppose. Oh, I don't know if that's the right saying, but anyway, if we jump into the business unit mapping for starters, I've got my business units in CRM, I've got my US business unit, I've got my, what I prefer to say is Danish business unit, or actually German, I'm sure it's German. I've got to check this. Anyway, German business unit, I'm going to call it. And then I've got teams. And what I'm able to do is basically say, okay, the US business unit talks to the US company, and the German business unit talks to the German company, or Danish, whichever way you want to call it. So that's one thing. So that's the business unit mapping to different companies. Then the next side, the extensibility, I find this picture a little bit funny. The top part is CDS and the bottom part is Business Central. The default is default common data model. I mentioned that before. So the common data service is where you can create entities and so on. The common data model is a set of entities that are standard, no matter what application you're using from our side. And it's things like accounts, currency, company, etc. So that is always the same. So what we've got here is in CDS, we've got currency and we've got account. We've got our default stuff. And in the BC base, we've got company and account. But in this case, what we've done is we're saying we're going to extend the account, and we're also going to go and create so we're going to extend the account at the top, and we're also going to create a new SKU size customization as well. So what we've got in CDS, we've got extended the account entity, and we've also created a SKU size customization. And in BC, we've created a new customer shoe size per tenant extension. And we've also extended the base CDS around the customer to account sync. So that's allowing you to kind of do all that from a development perspective and extend the solution out. It's not, even though it's AL at this stage, it's not that hard because for the developers to get this done, because they can actually, there's a tool that allows them to get the schema of an entity from CDS and create that entity, and then the other bits they need to do are fairly simple. So it's not that hard, but it doesn't allow you to go into interface and set all this up. You have to do it in AL. Okay, and the final bit is coming up on time. Data migrations. So just getting through this. Traditionally, in January this year, you had to update GP 2015, 2016, 2018 to 2018 or higher before you could migrate to Business Central. As of around February, I think it was, yeah, it is February, you don't. You can migrate directly from those to Business Central. That means that anybody dealing with a GP partner, customer can potentially connect and migrate data. We've done work on the enhanced chart of accounts migration, supporting dimensions, also supporting dimensions in the balance. So when I bring over the balance data, I can bring that over by dimension. Oh, excuse me. We've done some enhanced data migration for inventory, allowing for lots and serial numbers, as well as taking history into a table that you can then view. In GP, you can also migrate all or only active customer and vendor master records. And BC on-premises to BC cloud migration, we continue supporting that, of course. So in April, as I said, we brought in chart of account segments to dimensions, more GP versions, item enhancements, and we started doing work with specific ISVs for migrations. We're working on the Smart List designer. So Smart List is a way in GP of creating a list of data based off multiple records. So we're working for a preview in June of that. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. We've also BC 16X on-premise to BC SaaS will be supported, and BC 14 to 15X to 16X, which is current version, has been released as well now. And SL Solomon, which we don't have many of those in Australia anyway. I think we've got 3 or 4 to BC migration is to be decided on the release date of that. In October, we're going to move forward with GP to BC, looking at bank recs, outstanding transactions, open purchase orders, and fixed assets. We're looking to write GP historical data to Azure Data Lake, so we can write the data into the data lake. And then we're looking to use the Smart List designer in BC to utilize the Azure Data Lake for additional historical data queries and include queries as part of Smart List pages. And then 2021 we'll do the things that are on the screen. The thing to understand here is that there's, just like in Business Central, there's a number of different types of GP, but there are GP customers that just use GP that if you migrate them to Business Central using the standard migration tools and don't make it a big kind of new implementation, that they'll be quite happy. There are the more complex customers as well that need more work than that, but just be careful when you're talking to a customer about moving from GP that you don't overcomplicate things, because that's maybe what you're used to doing. So there's a link here. If you click on it, you can read more about these Wave 1 release features. Go and try the new features in the products that are available now. Watch out for more learning opportunities. So there will be some opportunities coming through Directions group in May. Tell us what you think. So please, any feedback would be well appreciated. And it's very important to go and put suggestions and vote for your favorite suggestions on aka.ms/BC ideas, because that's kind of a number of the features that we functionally released came from BC ideas, if not probably 90% of them. So that's kind of, we're following input from our customers and partners to how we actually develop our solution. And now back to Sunny.
Actually, you know what? It's going to be John first, but I just want to say thanks, Tim. Thanks for taking us through all that. There's, as you say, there's a lot of features in there and a lot of new stuff that's coming through that will benefit a lot of companies now in terms of increasing their productivity, helping partners migrate clients from old versions, and also just generally in productivity of people who already have BC. But I know everybody that we're running very close to like a couple of minutes over time. There's only a couple of slides left, but what we wanted to do is Sunny Prince works at Ingram. So I wanted to let you know that Sunny is also an available resource via Ingram Micro that you can actually tap into and use. So I wanted Sunny to give me just a 2-slide background on who he is and what he's there to offer and what he can do. And then I'll run you through the current couple of specials that are available in the market, and we'll wrap it up there. So, Sonny, if I throw it over to you, I'll let you go.
Hey guys, Sunny Prince. I hope everyone can hear me. So I'll be quick. A quick background brief about me. So I've been involved with the industry for the past 16 years, doing Microsoft Dynamics 365, and I'm proud of it. I should say that. Before D365 was restructured, it was called Dynamics CRM, or I should say one of the products was called Dynamics CRM, and my prime focus predominantly has been CRM, or now it's called custom engagement. My background has been more client-facing towards the consulting service side with focus on solution designing and delivery and training. From a certification perspective, I'm certified in Dynamics 365 as a solution consultant, and my last certification was D365 Fundamentals. Thank you, John. Next slide.
No problems. Tim, if you can click on.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so how do I empower partners? So I've been working on these 5 pillars: identify, focus, educate, nurture, develop, and grow to support partners. So my prime focus has always been the SMB market, and this is our focus as a team also. So let me quickly explain you what I do. So under the identify, focus area, once the partner has identified the solution area, which can either be Dynamics customer engagement or unified operations or ERP, or it can be both, I try to assess their baseline understanding of the chosen solution area, and then I try to educate and nurture them based on that specific solution they have chosen. So under the educate and nurture, I provide trainings through webinars, boot camps, and even provide one-on-one training sessions and enable partners build on solution and technology concepts, uncover various industry best practices for implementation. So for example, quite often I have seen partners struggling to position themselves or seeking support in having the right technical conversation with the client. So partners take me along in their client engagement meetings to have the relevant conversation, and they tend to job shadow. So in this way, also I try to enable them in the right competency. So under the develop area, I also provide assistance to progress with a generic solution that or package that they have chosen. And under the growth area, I work closely with partners in the go-to-market solutions and establish confidence in Microsoft platform technology and partners' ability to execute their solution offerings. That's it from me. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks very much, Sunny. And look, and to wrap everything up, just thought I'd throw a quick slide up to do a bit of a most people tend to know me in the industry. I've been around selling ERP for over 20 years, and I started selling Dynamics specifically in 2007, so a couple of years ago. Obviously, I'm also a Dynamics ERP P-seller with a P-seller program. But the idea behind myself is feel free, again, as a resource who's been doing sales for many years around ERP to leverage me, call me, reach out to me if you've got a solution, you're not too sure if there's a solution on the market, or you're looking at bringing on a partner. You need support from another partner around implementing, selling. Please, again, I'm a free resource. Please come through and get hold of me. Tim, if you can jump through. I thought I'd just quickly touch on the specials that are available. So just to remind everybody that this one's coming up to end 30th of June. So there is a 25% off sales professional that's still going. Now, there are obviously a couple of requirements, one being that you must have Office 365, it's a maximum of 75 seats. But at Ingram Micro, we've actually thrown on top of that, we've thrown 30 free days on top of their offer. So not only are you going to get 25% off, that 25% off for the user will last the initial purchase plus 2 renewals. So it's actually a 3-year 25% off, and then after that it reverts back. But it is a 3-year. Plus what we'll do is we'll actually give the customer the first month for free as well. So that's an Ingram Micro only offer on that. Thanks, Tim. So keep in mind that that special there is actually ending on the 30th of June. Everybody must probably be aware that there's also still the 40% off Business Central purchase through CSP. Now this goes for another year, but again, this is for companies who are looking to migrate to Dynamics 365 on-prem. Microsoft, in their wisdom, have not put an end date to how long the special will run for. Meaning, if you take this up by 30th of June 2021, there is no end date as to when they will say that will go. So at this point in time, someone takes this up, this could run for 3 years, 5 years, or 4 years. Now, I think Microsoft in their wise wisdom will come out. If they do decide to end it, we'll give a month's notice. But at this point in time, there is no end date on that. And Ingram Micro, on top of that, have now come forward. We will offer the 45 days free. So the first 45 days will also be free for that client. So they get 40% off with no ed term and first 45 days free under this. So keep in mind that there's this special available in the market run. It's got another year to go, but just please be aware that this special is available and available to be used. Thanks, Tim. Now, the last one that's coming through, it's only come through recently, but it's all to do around the COVID. So I do want to make people aware. Now, there is a lot of T's and C's that are around this, but if you have a customer that's in health, gov, non-profit education, and they are directly responsible for a response or a service or something that's in relation to the COVID-19, again, obviously case-by-case approval, there is an opportunity to have Power Platform, Dynamics Customer Service, or D365 Remote Assist for 6 months free. So there's a lot behind that, but it is a case-by-case basis acknowledgement. But if you do have a customer that's in an essential services in health, gov, non-for-profit, and they're doing some services directly related to the COVID, please get in touch with me. There are some forms we need to fill out. It's not much, it's only 2 little quick forms. Submit to Microsoft for approval, but if they can actually get up to 6 months free on those 3 Power Platforms. Thanks, Tim. So again, keep that one in mind for what we're going through. Look, Tim, if you just keep flying through these guys, I won't keep time because I've run over light, but these are, I'll have all these in the PowerPoint deck that I'm sending out. These are all links available for you on where to get information, where to get some downloads, how to set a demonstration point up, and again, more resources. I'll include all these for you in the deck that will get sent out for you so you can have a look. I've left myself and Tim up there, our contact details. Again, if you're not sure or don't know how to get hold of us, please feel free to reach out to myself or Tim. I will give it a minute quickly, but I know we're running over time. But I will open up. If anyone wants to have a quick question now, please feel free. I'll only give it a couple of minutes because, again, I don't want to hold everybody up. But if you've got any questions now, I'll open the floor up to anybody. Either feel free to chat, send a message in the chat window, or speak up. Otherwise, I'll give it a minute and we might probably wrap up. And thank you all for spending your time. I apologize for running over, but again, thanks for your time. So we'll give it a minute. No, it doesn't look like anyone's got anything to say. I think everyone wants to go and have lunch, which is understandable. All right, look, I'll wrap it up. I see a couple of people have dropped off. Look, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe, stay well. If you need anything, please feel free. And look, thank you very much for your time, and we'll end it there. Thank you.
Thanks, John.